In this lesson, we're going to smooth out our car shell and add some initial detail by using subdivision modeling techniques. Alright, so to get started with this, let's select our car shell, and we're going to go to the Modify panel and add a modifier called Turbo Smooth. Now, Turbo Smooth is going to smooth this out, and you'll notice that it adds more geometry to smooth that out. And if we bump up our iterations up to 2, we'll get even more geometry, and it smooths it out even more. Now, the problem with using a subdivision technique like this, like Turbo Smooth, is that we lose volume from our original mesh. So if I go to my front view by hitting F on the keyboard, you'll notice that we've lost a little bit of volume down here. We're not matching up with our original image. The top looks okay, but we've lost a little bit of shape right up front here. And what we need to do is we need to come in and add segments to control the overall smoothness of this object. So looking at this area right here, if we take a look at our reference image, it's a little bit sharper, okay? And also across the top here, it's not quite as smooth. And so what we need to do is we need to add some segments across those edges to tighten that up. So to do this, I like to turn on Isoline Display, so that way I can see the original control cage. And then I like to go to Editable Poly and then turn on Show End Result. This allows me to go to Edge Mode, and I can see the original cage of that object. And then I can go to Edit and then Swift Loop. This is going to be under our ribbon, okay, or our graphite modeling tools. And then we're going to use Swift Loop here. So with this, I'm going to go ahead and create a loop right here. And notice how that begins to bring some of that volume back. Let's do the same thing on the other side. There we go. Now we really wanted to tighten up this area right here. So right across the side here, we're going to add one segment right here. And then down below, we'll add one more. But we're going to go about halfway on this one. So the key thing to remember about adding segments is the closer that you get to the original line, or that orange line that you can see there. If we hit F3, you can go to wireframe. If I get really close to that orange line and I create a cut there by left clicking, that's going to create a very hard crease. That is bringing those segments closer together. Now if I cut a little bit further up, you'll notice that it doesn't crease quite as much. So I want to do right in between that, so not quite halfway. And we're going to do that on both sides there. Okay, there we go. So now we have the sides here, and we could go ahead and add a segment on that as well. And I'm going to go ahead and just add that right below there. So if I right click, that's going to end my Swift Loop tool, and I'm going to turn off Edge Mode so I can see the original object without that cage. And I'm going to hit F4 to turn off my wireframe. So we've got a pretty good shape going to our object. We've hardened up those edges that we needed to, and I'm pretty happy with that. Now the next thing that we need to do is we need to get these details across the front and then also along the back here. So it's just a little bit of a lip. And we're not adding any more geometry. We're going to use what's here for us. So let's go into Edge Mode right now. And I'm going to go across the front. And it looks like right here, if I hit F on the keyboard, it looks like this segment right here is going to be the point that I need. So I need to add a segment right here to lift up to create that lip. So I'm going to go to Edit, Swift Loop, and just add a loop right here. So you get that green line, and there we go. Now I'm going to go to Vertex Mode, and I'm going to right click to end my Swift Loop, and I'm going to select these vertices right here and just pull those straight up. Now go as far as you can. And I'm looking at the original cage right here. And I'm just going to bring that right here. And then I'm going to select that whole line. And I'm going to bring that over to the right a bit. Okay. And actually, you know what? Let's leave that original line there. Let's just pull that one. I think that might be a little bit of a smarter move there. So now you'll notice that we're not getting that same shape. We're not getting that same geometry. Let me take this and pull that up a little bit to match that. But it's not quite as hard as it is in our reference image. So what do we need to do? Well, we need to go ahead and add another segment close to that so that way it hardens up or tightens up that geometry. So let's go to Edit, Swift Loop and add one right here, and you'll see that that begins to harden up. Now if I take a look on the inside, it's very smooth right here. So let's create some segments on the inside, and we're just going to do one. So I'm going to create one segment right here. Alright, so there we have our geometry, and we have that lip that we were looking for. Now, a couple of issues that you might see with your geometry is you have that detail, and everything's looking good. I like the way that's looking so far. But you'll notice that right here, we may have a little bit of a pinch in our geometry. If I select this object and I turn off Isoline Display, notice what's happening. We're getting a lot of geometry that is bunched up right here. So it's very possible that it could create some geometry that creates a pinch. So one way to alleviate that is to go to Editable Poly, Vertex Mode, and then take these vertices and spread them apart from one another. Now the way that I like to do this is I like to turn on my constraints for my geometry, and I like to constrain along the edges whenever I'm moving vertices. And what this is going to do is allow me to select a row of vertices like this, or even just an individual vertex, and pull that out, and it's going to follow along that edge. It's not going to change the shape that I have already. So this is just a great way for readjusting topology without changing the shape of your object. So you can see now that topology is beginning to spread out. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on this side, and then we need to remember to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so I'm going to take this one and pull it over, and we'll take these, and then we'll pull those over away from that. So just spreading those out alleviates that pinching that we'll see. And I believe that that's going to be pretty good. So go ahead and do the same thing on the other side here, because we need to go ahead and get started with the back side here. So on the back side, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go ahead and turn on Isoline Display, just so it's a little bit cleaner. And then I'm going to go to Edge Mode, and then I'm going to use Swift Loop. And if I go to my front view, I can't really see my reference image. So if I hit Alt-X, I can see that right here. So I know that that lip is right there. So I'm going to create one segment right on top of that, and then I'm going to create another one behind it. Okay. So now let's go ahead and make some adjustments to our topology. So I'm going to take this vertex or set of vertices right here. I'm going to pull those straight down, and then I'm going to take the rest of these and pull those down as well. But you'll notice that I left my constraint on. So let's turn that off. So let's retry that. Let's take these, and I'm going to pull those down, and I'm going to take this one and pull it down. Now you'll notice that whenever I'm working in this area, I'm just pulling a little bit down at a time. I'm not trying to make large movements right off the bat, because we could get ourselves in trouble by doing such a thing there. So we're looking good so far, and now I have the ability to take these polygons or these vertices and just pull those down and try to get that topology to flow together. So I'm going to take this, so that way it's nice and relaxed there. And there we go. So now let's take this vertex right here. I'm just going to pull that forward, and then take this one and pull that forward as well. So that's going to create that little lip there. And oops, just make your adjustments as needed. Okay, and I'm going to take this, I'm going to pull that up into there, and just kind of pulling that geometry closer. I'm going to make one more segment right here. So let's go to Edit, Swift Loop, and make one segment right there just to pull all of that together. Let's hit Alt-X, and let's take a look at our geometry. So here we have that lip on the back of our RC car, and that's going into the fender. Now if you want, you could go ahead and modify this shape a little bit, like this right here. I'm going to kind of pull that down a little just to kind of smooth out that edge, and same thing here, just going to pull that down. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with the way that's looking right there. Got those details that I wanted out of my RC car. And remember, you want to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side up front here, just to spread that apart. So once you've done that, go ahead and go on to the next lesson, and in there, what we're going to do is we're going to model out the tires for our RC car. So I'll see you then.